guys, you are getting the short and sweet edition of box office predictions this week because if you couldn't tell, I'm away right now. I am in Cabo for the Jumanji The Next Level junket, so got some stuff to do, but I wasn't missing out on box office predictions. And before I get to the new round, we got some recapping to do. First, Fantasy Movie League. We had 4 perfect lineups, and I'm particularly impressed with these 4 on the screen right now because they had all the faith in the world in Playing with Fire, which across the board was the perfect lineup right there. I'm very impressed. Congratulations to you. We're pretty much at the end of the season right now, so now is the time to lock in those big scores. Going into what happened at the box office last weekend, ranking and numbers wise, not the best week again for me. I only went 2 for 5, but the numbers were a little closer. Ford v Ferrari did top the charts, and it exceeded expectations with $31.5 million. The bigger shock of the week, though, was Midway topping newcomer Charlie's Angels. Midway just edged out Charlie's Angels with $8.5 million, while Charlie's Angels could only manage $8.4 million. Right behind that, it was Playing with Fire with $8.3 million, and then Last Christmas managed to just top Dr. Sleep for that 5th spot with $6.5 million. Now for the new round of predictions, the number 5 spot, I think it's probably going to come down to Midway and Playing with Fire, but what is making me give Playing with Fire the edge is the hold it had last weekend, which was far stronger than Midway's. I don't think it's going to repeat that 34.5% dip that it got last weekend with Frozen 2 entering the mix, but even if that percent change comes up to something like 45%, we're still talking about a total of $4.6 million for Playing with Fire, and I think that's enough to beat Midway. Rolling into the 4th position now, that is where I have newcomer 21 Bridges. I do think this one is going to get a little swallowed up in the competition this weekend, but it has a reported production budget of $33 million, so even if it does hit the kind of low number that I'm picturing for this one, it still could be a good ways to actually earning a profit here. And the comp I have for this one is Mile 22. I think it could come fairly close to that one. It does have more competition to deal with. It doesn't have Mark Wahlberg, so I'm going to bring the $13 million that Mile 22 made opening weekend down just a little bit, and I'm thinking that 21 Bridges could kick off its run with something like $11 million this weekend. Now my number 3 spot is going to another newcomer. This is where I have A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Now one might think that this movie could match, let's say, something like Sully, which opened up with a whopping $35 million, or maybe Captain Phillips, and that one, when it opened up, it made $25.7 million, but that's not going to be the case because I don't think A Beautiful Day is even going to crack 20 for that matter. Instead, I'm going to go to a different Tom Hanks star, and I'm going to look at Bridge of Spies. I actually think that this new movie could open up right in line with that, which is why I'm giving A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood an opening weekend total of $15.5 million. Now next up at number 2, that's where I have Ford v Ferrari, and the funny thing is, I actually think Captain Phillips's run at the box office could be more helpful with this one here. I just think their release and the crowd that they're going for is right in line, and they weren't all too different in terms of their opening weekend totals, but of course Ford v Ferrari did make a little more, so I have to account for that here. Weekend 2, Captain Phillips dropped a mere 36.2%. Again, I do think I have to bring that up in this case, so I think I'm going to top it out at a 43% dip, and if that is the drop I wind up applying to Ford v Ferrari in weekend 2 of its run, it's still making another $17.5 million. And now for the no-brainer of the bunch this week, my number 1 pick is Frozen 2. When the first movie opened up, it made $67.4 million over the Thanksgiving weekend, the 3-day weekend there. So there is no doubt that Frozen 2 will top that 3-day haul. The question is, how high is it going to go? I recently read some estimates that had a range of 105 to 115 million. Some are going above that, including myself. I think it's going to go above that, and then the question becomes, will it wind up topping this year's release that Toy Story 4 saw, which was 120.9 million? And I think the answer to that is yes. Frozen is huge. It wasn't just a huge hit at the box office when the first movie came out. It has seeped into pop culture to a different extent, and I think that the interest in this movie could be huge, especially with the holiday coming up. I think everything is working in this movie's favor right now, so I think I'm going to go for an opening weekend total of 130 million. Now let's recap these predictions. Frozen 2 is my number 1 pick of the weekend with $130 million. Ford v Ferrari is taking the number 2 spot with $17.5 million. Then I've got A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood coming in at number 3 with $15.5 million, followed by 21 Bridges opening up at number 4 with $11 million, followed by Playing with Fire rounding out my top 5 with $4.6 million. That is it. I'm not going to rush through Patreon shoutouts. I'm going to save those for next time, but thank you for watching. Let me see if I can at least finish this up with a better shot of the beautiful view I have right now. But this trip is absolutely nuts. Please go check out my Instagram and Twitter because I went bungee jumping today and it was a major bucket list item for me and it was incredible. So hit that comment section below, put your top 5s right in there, head on over to Fantasy Movie League and lock those lineups. Again, it's prime time in Fantasy Movie League right now because the season is winding down. And before I go, let's pick this up and take you guys over to a beautiful view.